Okay guys, welcome back to another video. We have today the follow-up on our kind of diagnosis of an underboost fault. A 3-4 minute video I had up there maybe 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. What are we doing? Right now today we're going to change in the turbo on this thing. Lads had a debate on what could have happened to this thing. Why did it stop? Why do I believe the turbo is locked solid? It is actually. We went in here and we had the turbine side, the intake side. This part wouldn't turn good or bad. That is a turbo that the customer has supplied us, so we're going fitting that in today. In the familiarity in my head, I don't know what way I'm tackling this. I do believe that it's going to be too hard to come up this way, purely just because of space, not enough room between here and here. And if we took off wipers, I still think we get caught on the way up. So what I'm going to do is, I'm potentially thinking I'm going down the bottom. I'm going to take off the subframe down underneath. I'm going to get off the DPF off it, and then from there I'll have hopefully plenty of room to get in and get up at our turbo from the bottom and get it dropped down the way and swapped around. Now, not that it matters. Came in this box, came from a crowd called Drive Shaft Services. They're actually in Ireland. A little bit of a plug for them, just to show it. The owner said that it was OE quality Garrett turbo, and that he said it was cheaper than what I could get my suppliers to get stuff for. So look, the long and short of it is, he's explained that. We're going to stick in that in. We're going to see where we end up. So where am I going to start? Up in the air, a couple of subframe bolts out of this thing, and DPF off. When I start, even from looking here, the bracket that's holding on our DPF, the bolt is on the bottom, or the 5mm Allen key head is on the bottom. So we're going to be going in, taking off a few bits here. To get off the DPF of this, there is one 13 bolt underneath a differential pressure sensor there. So we're going to first start with getting out that, then get it up in the air, maybe disconnect a few block connectors and stuff so I can take this thing out relatively easy, then wrap off a subframe, okay? That's where we're going to start. Okay, I've popped up the air box out of it. I've taken off the air intake pipe from the air box in. There's a little E20 Torx sitting just down there, so we can see roughly where it is. And then it just twists back, comes out, and up. That's the little E20 Torx there, or 30 Torx, with a little lock and tab on the inside. I'm then going to save taking off that intercooler pipe here, because that's an awkward joke to get out down the bottom. So I'm going to disconnect the two jubal tips here and try and get that little bit of a rubber hose out of it in order to get in at the two bolts in there where the air outlet comes off the turbo. And I'm thinking then at that point, just for nosiness sake, I'm going to undo the 6 bolts around the side of the turbo and get the turbo out off the exhaust manifold and just have a look at the turbo and see what the heck is going on here. I should have that off in 20 minutes or half an hour. Okay, from the back, if we can see it. Anyway, there's one bolt, that's in here underneath the oil feed pipes. Can you see it? No, I can't see it. I can only barely see it with my eyes. It's right in there that I can't get at, and simply due to that, taking the thing apart, I'm choosing to carry on disassembling it. To take off my oil feed pipe to get in at it. So by carrying on disassembling, what I've done is I'm just starting to drop our subframe down and out of the equation. On the back, there's 2 little bolts going in from the exhaust into the subframe. Underneath then, from the back, bolt, see them up there, 1, 2 bottom ball joints, and your roll bar link. You got 2 bolts at the engine mounting going into the gearbox. Same on the opposite bottom ball joint, 2 bolts here, and then I have 1, 2, 3 holding the steering rack onto the subframe. So at this point in time, I have our subframe dropping down, okay? I'm leaving the rack in place just for ease of disconnecting steering columns and all that. There's 1 little bolt sitting here, actually in a wiring loom, and I just try and see. Yeah, it's actually sitting in top of the subframe. It says 10. Not just, I drop it down 2 inches and then I went in at this and got my loom off, so I didn't break anything there. And then I think my next port of call, I have actually gone up here The bolts on the exhaust for the bracket for the DPF to come off are very, very rusty, so I have just sent an angle grinder in through the slot, cut the bolt. I'm going to renew the bolt in here, get down this, possibly this bracket that's sitting here, 4 bolts, and then once we get our bracket off above on the, we're going to make a bit of space once we get the bracket off of the DPF onto the turbo, and these 2 bolts sitting in there, a couple of wires, and then the DPF should come off, and at least at that stage then we can get in and get off our oil feed pipe and a few EGR pipes and stuff like that. Okay, I have rolled on a bit further. We've taken out the long drive shaft. There's a 24 12 sided socket fits out here on this, now unless the CE joint was changed. And in here then we have, I actually don't know, M8 spline key. A lot of people ask me what is actually driving, what do I need to get off what. The bracket on the actual exhaust is a 5mm Allen key, and then I have these 2 bolts that I spoke about in here. So the bracket off, that off, the bolts up top that I spoke about earlier on, and then I just disconnected a couple of block connectors. I actually went up on my trusty ladder and disconnected the block connectors from up above. Once the drive shaft was out, this thing came loose. Pressure sensor actually came with it. Came loose, sat down, and I'm going to tell you the way it came out for me was with the steering rack hanging down like that. It was near easier. It just twisted out like that and came from this side down, if that makes sense. There is our DPF, or the bracket on the back. I took off the clamp or the bracket on the back, and the 2 bolts that I pointed out earlier, I think, on the subframe. So that's it, with temperature sensors and all that kind of stuff in it. DPF pressure sensor, or differential pressure sensor, and a couple of temperature sensors. Lambda sensor stuck in it as well. That's it, we're rolling on, starting to create a bit of room. I'm thinking now at this point in time I'm going to take off this oil feed and return pipe. Also a couple of EGR pipes here to come off. And at that stage I can get in a little heat shield and I'll be able to get in to get off my turbo. Getting there. At this stage I've just taken off our EGR pipe and I've taken out 2 bolts holding on the oil feed and the return. I'm now going to pull out the oil feed banjo bolt and the oil strainer banjo bolt, or drain banjo bolt. Get something to catch a bit of oil that's going to come down from it. We'll get off that little cover then that's in there, and hopefully then we'll be out. I got my oil feed pipe off and I have all the bolts taken out with bar. There was one in the corner here that I thought I could allow the EGR feed pipe. So, no, sorry. Well, it's feeding from here down to the EGR valve, and then from here it's returning back to the head. Okay, so the EGR return pipe, this one here, I thought I could allow that to stay in place, but I couldn't. And anyone that has done an EGR valve in this knows that there's just a couple of bolts up there, but they're a little bit awkward because they're buried up on top of them water pipes. Not too bad because we've plenty of room down here, but at least now I can get in at my other bolt that's buried. Can I see it? Yeah, it's just there at the top of my finger. So I can see it right there underneath my finger, okay? But I couldn't get in it with the pipe, was in my way, so I wanted that off now. Okay, turbo out. I didn't even attempt to try and do it on camera because I knew it was going to be a slight little bit tight between point A and point B. So just when I pulled out the last bolt, I just lifted it down in my hand, primary to ye seeing it. So here is our turbo. They're the same anyhow, thank goodness. And we're just stuck. It's not damaged at all. But in saying that, she just won't rotate. No, wait. I got it to move. I've seen Emac, I've never seen nothing like this at all. What we should be able to do like is, we're going, we just put our fingers in and spin. It's just jam solid. But, ooh. I'm getting it to move ever so slightly, but look, the long and short of it is, it's stuck. We'll have to verify. Sorry, it's stuck. We'll have to verify maybe our oil feeds, etc. Yeah, that's kind of it. Some lads had spoken about maybe injector washers up there leaking, but we were trying to send in a boroscope and just have a look. Pull off the oil filler cap when it's running, and see what we hear, what we feel. Kind of hard push though to probably blame, carbon in there. I'd blame strainers for getting blocked. I'd blame anything, but I don't know what the heck has made this happen to this. Anyway, she has to go back in. The exact same process in reverse, anti-clockwise. And yeah, we'll just bolt together. I might disassemble that thing and just see, a little while. Find out we have a nice couple of new gaskets and stuff to go in there as well, which were in that little bag there, but anyway, these are to be reinstated. When she's going to sit, thrown together, okay? Just before I drive on and put it in, I've transferred a couple of heat shields and stuff off that one over. Maybe you want that, do you? Part number? Might be handy for someone. Okay, turbo up and the 8 bolts holding it on, squeeze. So turbo is sitting in situ and tight. I suppose on the interrogation then of why this thing failed in the first place, here's our banjo bolt that the oil feed comes through, and there is no filters or anything. Sometimes there'll be a filter in here to give us an oil restriction, so the bolt is absolutely perfectly clean. And then when I come up and onto my oil feed pipe here, I'm only just sending a bit of air in here. So I have air coming out. You can't see it, but I can feel it. It's only air, and on the return, see some movement on oil. It's clear. Can't be seen on camera too much, but that's clear. So the long and short of it is that we don't have a banjo bolt related problem. We don't have an oil feed pipe blocked. We don't have an oil return pipe blocked. The banjo bolt, where do I have that? For the oil return, there's a mammoth or a massive yoke, again with no filters on it. So potentially we've nothing wrong in here. So these bits can be reassembled at this point in time because we know it's not there. Do we have, could it be low on oil pressure? Or what? Could a lump of carbon have got out? But I couldn't see a piece of carbon coming up wherever our pipes are. I couldn't see a piece of carbon coming up here from an injector to stop or jam the turbo bearing. Don't actually physically know. Anyway, for now anyway, we know that these bits are good, so these bits are going to be reinstated and refitted. Oil feed and return pipes reinstated. Both EGR pipes are bolted on at this point in time. There's a temperature sensor that was in here in the turbo. Have that put back in. Wire held on its little bracket for holding it. And yeah, that's it. Sometimes people ask me on these turbos, look, they're not so bad. But they'll ask me on Mazdas, why would I drop the engine out to change the turbo? But the long and short of it is, there's so much stuff in on the back of Mazda engines that it's just, you nearly couldn't get it right without actually having it down to the ground and seeing a bit of room. So these ones are not so bad. 3 or 4 or 5 pipes, easy. Whereas in the other ones, the twin turbos or the bi-turbos, there's just a barrage of stuff in there. You nearly couldn't do it right without having a bit of space. Everything now is, as you know, which is easy, a bit of a stretch up there. I actually stand on a wheel when I'm trying to get up deeper in here. And yeah, but anyway, we're going back together. Bolts, gaskets, all that renewed and ready to be. What are we doing next? I think the DPF nearly is the next one to go in there, I'd be suggesting. Okay guys, just to show behind the scenes, because sometimes you don't get to see this stuff. The actual bolt going through the clamp for the DPF to the turbo, the bolt snapped. Had a bit sticking at the top, and then I went over and I heated this shank, but it snapped again on me on the other side. So we have 2 options. We either drill that out, or that's kind of the same size shank as that. Maybe I might drill through that if that's very hard and fix threads in that and do something. But anyway, neither here nor there. That's the kind of stuff that happens behind the scenes that you don't get to see, all right? Little piece drilled out with threads kind of pulled on the side of it. I got fairly bang on in the head of it. Once we got it out, then I'm going to run a tap and die set through it. All I need now is a bolt. Squeeze it up. Okay, back up top, sticking in place my pressure sensors and temperature sensors, lambda sensors and temperature sensors, and I'm also going to stick in my pressure sensor in there and just get a couple of bits put together before I roll down and start putting my subframe underneath. Okay, piece drilled out. Bolt, I found something like it. It's the closest one I could get. The head was too big and there was washer on it, but I cut the washer off and ground it down, and she sits in there then nice and snug. It's probably an E27 or 30 torques, but that's it. Just saves us stopping and waiting to order one of these clamps and get us motoring on and get the car together back for the customer. Okay, we're close to being finished. We have actually a bit of oil leaking out of the gearbox here when I'm standing looking at it from somewhere. We have my bottom ball joints squares on both sides, anti-roll bar links in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Counted badly any there, must be 8. 1, 2, 3. Anyway, yeah, 6 bolts on each side, 3 in the steering rack back in, 2 bolts in the actual engine mount, and the drive shaft is back in. Stuck on the other side, I actually still have to stick the nut on the outside. Have my exhaust back and on, have all the bits and pieces stuck in up here. I actually forgot that little heat shield there, but that is back in situ at this point in time. So now I have to stick in a bolt here, 2 bolts in that, and stick on wheels, maybe under tray and give it a start. And well, I might leave the under tray off until we pinpoint what the heck is going on here. Why did this thing fail? I don't know. It might mean disassembling that over there, but we're on the home run. Okay guys, I reassembled all my bits and pieces. I turned the key in. I'm going to tell you what I done last night. I actually drove it home to make sure it was okay. Brought a scan tool with me, but on start up of the car, all my check engine lights and stuff went out, and at that point I just continued on going. So I didn't clear any faults threatening, but I had no lights on the dash, and right now I'm up and running and reversed back into the garage. What am I going to do today? I'm going to go along and just have a look at these injector washers, just because people have said to me on the last diagnosis video that they see this turbos to stop rotating due to carbon coming up from injector washers failing. It's going to be, we'd say it's kind of a school day or learning curve for me. I haven't seen this before, haven't ever done this because of that before, which is a turbo because of injector washer failing. Normally I'd see or hear some kind of a blow or a pop. I have had the oil filler cap off and it does sound like they're not leaking, but we're going to get in, pop them up, just have a look and see where we end up. Okay, hopefully there's either going to be something wrong or something not, and if there's nothing wrong in there, we're just going to reassemble. If there's something wrong in there, we're going to renew the washers, probably ream the head and throw it out back to the customer. Actually, before I roll on, I took my turbo apart yesterday evening, and after I pulled off the sides off of it, lo and behold, now I do see a lot of lumps of carbon sitting just in there. So whether something got snagged in here to stop it totally or what. Now it wasn't as free as that when I took it out. I did spin it around once or twice, and yeah, it's freer now than what it has been. We can see that our other side is turning also. So I don't know whether it was just something got snagged in here or on the bearings or what, but we'll have a look at the injectors and just see. Okay, injectors up out of her. We have a slight little bit on that one actually down here, so maybe we'll replace them anyway and cruise on. Okay guys, you've probably seen that before. It's a little injector seat reaming tool. What it basically does is the drill bit that drills or grinds or resurfaces the actual injector washer hole. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of blurry. You can see that. Let's see. Nah, it's still kind of blurry. Anyway, basically what that does is it goes in there, sits in. We only just use that yoke, and wrong yoke. Guns are looking the same. And it basically just spins around. I'd hold it steadier with 2 hands, but that's what basically happens. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Reaming that. Injector washers, have 4 of them sitting here in a bag. We're going to throw them onto these and throw them in. Fingers crossed that's the resolving of this thing. Happy day, every day is a school day. Okay, injectors back in, torque down, engine or rocker cover cleaned up with a bit of brake clean and blowgun, air, compressed air. Engine cover to be sat on there in a moment. Car is started, up and running. I'm going to do a couple of miles and confirm everything is fairly right here and doing its job. Don't know if them injector washers, I don't know if the injector washers were the cause of this turbo stopping, rotating or seizing. I have shown the turbo disassembled where that actually moves now at this point in time, whether it was just stuck with a bit of carbon or what, but neither here nor there. What I did debate on while I was in there, purely because I had so much disassembled, I did debate on maybe changing an EGR valve, because the car can't or won't be able to monitor how well the EGR system is kind of working if the turbo is stuck at that point. But then I had injectors in hand, and injectors fail on these all the time. So could I turn around and say, oh hey, should we renew injectors as well? So it's kind of a hard thing to know how comprehensive do you go, because no matter what you do, if you go big, you're expensive. If you go small and something catches you, it's an oversight on your part. So the long and short, it's kind of a feathering thing. Going to start this, going to run it, make sure EGR valve is opening and closing at idle, and I've done a test on it there. It passed the test, but an actuation test, initialization of the EGR valve, and on a relearn on the throttle body as well, with the scan tool sitting here on seat. So look, hopefully we're done, we're dusted, and maybe it's the injector washers that cause this thing to stop. Weren't that bad, but maybe it is. Anyway, for this one, guys, I hope you picked up something from this. Turbo under boost fault, and I think it was a P0402 or a 403 EGR excessive flow. And the reason because of that we're suggesting is because when the EGR valve opened and the turbo wasn't, or the turbine of the turbo wasn't turning, that rather than the exhaust gas being able to get out down through the exhaust system, it was being forced in, or more flow was getting into the engine. But look, changing the turbo on a 2013 Skoda Octavia 1.6 cayc. On this thing, lads are going to ask me as well, we have 112,000 miles, and yeah, might aid or help someone to get this job done on something. Subframe off was the easiest way I went anyway, I thought. Guys, for this one, please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all next cartoon. Peter Kennedy, signing out. See you later, boys.